The mirror in her bedroom showed exactly what Maya had expected, but she still felt her stomach twist with nerves. The black dress she had chosen was her favorite one, the one that made her feel confident even on her worst days. She had spent 2 hours getting ready, applying her makeup with the same care an artist uses with their paintbrush. Her long dark hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders, and despite her anxiety, she knew she looked good. Maya worked as a graphic designer at a small advertising agency downtown. She was really good at her job, creating beautiful designs that made her clients happy. But when it came to dating, she had not been so lucky. Being a bigger girl in a world that seemed to worship skinny bodies was not easy. She had tried online dating, setups from friends, and even speed dating events. Most of the time, things did not work out, and Maya was starting to think maybe she was meant to be alone. That was until her best friend Lisa called her 3 weeks ago with exciting news. Lisa worked at a marketing company and had met this guy named Ryan who seemed perfect for Maya. He was smart, funny, had a good job, and according to Lisa, he was looking for someone genuine and real. Lisa had shown Ryan some pictures of Maya and told him all about her personality. Ryan seemed interested and asked for Maya's number. The text conversations between Maya and Ryan had been amazing. They talked about movies, books, their jobs, and their dreams. Ryan seemed different from other guys Maya had talked to. He asked about her work and seemed genuinely impressed when she told him about the advertising campaigns she had designed. He shared funny stories about his job in marketing and his love for hiking and cooking. Maya found herself smiling at her phone every time his messages came through. Ryan had been honest about wanting to meet someone who was down to earth and not focused only on looks. He said he was tired of shallow relationships and wanted something real. Maya had been careful to share recent photos of herself, making sure Ryan knew exactly what she looked like. She did not want any surprises or awkward moments. Ryan had said she looked beautiful, and that he was excited to meet her. Tonight was finally the night. They had planned to meet at Giovanni's, a nice Italian restaurant in the center of town. It was the kind of place that was fancy enough to feel special, but not so expensive that it would be awkward if the date did not go well. Maya had arrived 15 minutes early because she was always punctual, and also because she wanted to get settled before Ryan arrived. The restaurant was busy for a Friday night. Couples were chatting over candlelit tables and the smell of garlic bread and pasta filled the air. Maya had requested a quiet table by the window, where they could talk without too much noise around them. The hostess, a young woman with a bright smile, had seated her at a perfect spot with a view of the street outside. Maya ordered a sparkling water and checked her phone for the 10th time. Ryan had texted 30 minutes ago saying he was running just a few minutes late because of traffic. No problem, Maya thought. She used the extra time to people watch and calm her nerves. At the table next to her, a man in an expensive suit was sitting alone, reading through some papers while occasionally checking his phone. He looked like he was probably waiting for someone too. Maya pulled out her phone and scrolled through her conversation with Ryan one more time. His last message had been sweet, saying he was looking forward to finally meeting the woman behind all those thoughtful messages. Maya smiled, remembering how he had asked about her latest design project just yesterday. He seemed genuinely interested in her work, which was rare. Most guys either did not understand what she did or acted like it was not important. Her job meant everything to Maya. She had studied design in college and had worked hard to build her skills and reputation. She had created logos for local businesses, designed websites for startups, and even worked on a few campaigns for bigger companies. Her boss was always impressed with her creativity and attention to detail. Maya knew she was talented, and her work gave her confidence even when other parts of her life felt uncertain. The restaurant was getting busier, and Maya watched as happy couples enjoyed their meals together. She wondered if tonight could be the beginning of something special. Lisa had been so excited about setting them up, and Ryan had seemed genuinely interested in getting to know her. Maybe this time would be different. Maya checked her appearance in her phone camera one more time. Her lipstick was still perfect and her hair looked good. She took a deep breath and reminded herself that she was a catch. She was smart, funny, talented, and kind. Any man would be lucky to be with her. She just had to find the right one who could see past society's narrow definition of beauty. The businessman at the next table looked up from his papers and glanced around the restaurant. He seemed to be waiting for someone important based on the nice folder of documents in front of him. Maya wondered if he was nervous about his meeting too. Everyone seemed to be waiting for something or someone tonight. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Ryan saying he had just parked and would be inside in 2 minutes. Her heart started beating faster, and she could feel that familiar flutter of excitement and nervousness in her stomach. She put her phone away and sat up straighter, wanting to make a good first impression when Ryan walked through the door. She had imagined this moment so many times over the past few weeks. All their conversations had led to this point, and Maya really hoped that the connection they had built over text would translate to real life. She was ready for this. She was ready to open her heart to the possibility of love again, despite all the disappointment she had faced in the past. The front door of the restaurant opened, and Maya looked up expectantly, her heart racing with anticipation for what was about to unfold. Maya's heart jumped when she saw a tall man with brown hair walk through the restaurant door. He was wearing a navy blue shirt and dark jeans, just like Ryan had described in his text. This had to be him. She smiled and raised her hand slightly to get his attention. When their eyes met, Maya felt a moment of happiness. Finally, after weeks of texting, they were meeting face to face, but something was wrong. Instead of the warm smile she had expected, Ryan's face completely changed. His eyes went wide and his mouth fell open slightly. He stood frozen by the hostess stand for what felt like forever, just staring at Maya. The happy expression she had been wearing slowly faded as she realized what was happening. This was not the reaction she had hoped for. Ryan slowly walked toward her table, but his steps were heavy and reluctant. Maya could feel her stomach sinking with each step he took. She had seen this look before on other dates, but she had really thought this time would be different. All their conversations had been so good. Ryan had seemed like such a nice, understanding person. When Ryan reached the table, he did not sit down right away. Instead, he stood there looking uncomfortable, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. Maya tried to break the awkward silence by standing up and extending her hand for a handshake. "Hi, Ryan. It's so nice to finally meet you in person," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady and cheerful despite the obvious tension. Ryan barely touched her hand and pulled away quickly. "Yeah, hi," he said flatly, his voice completely different from the warm, friendly tone she remembered from their phone calls. Maya gestured to the chair across from her. "Please sit down. I already ordered us some water and I was looking at the menu. The pasta dishes look amazing." Ryan remained standing for another uncomfortable moment before reluctantly pulling out the chair and sitting down. He did not pick up his menu or even look at Maya properly. Instead, he kept glancing around the restaurant as if he was looking for an escape route. "So how was the drive over?" Maya asked, trying desperately to start a normal conversation. "You mentioned the traffic was bad." Ryan barely looked at her when he answered. "It was fine." His responses were short and cold, nothing like the funny, talkative person she had been texting with for weeks. Maya could feel her confidence crumbling, but she tried one more time. "I was telling you about that new project at work yesterday. The one with the restaurant chain? Well, my boss loved the design concepts I presented and—" "Look, Maya," Ryan interrupted her, his voice getting louder. "I need to be honest with you about something." The way he said it made Maya's blood run cold. She could tell by his tone that whatever he was about to say was not going to be good. She noticed that people at nearby tables were starting to look in their direction. "I don't know how to say this nicely, so I'm just going to be direct," Ryan continued, still not really looking at her. "When Lisa showed me your photos and told me about you, I guess I had different expectations." Maya felt her cheeks burning with embarrassment. "What do you mean? I sent you recent pictures. I was honest about everything." "Yeah, but—" Ryan paused and looked around the restaurant again. "Look, I'm sorry, but this just isn't what I'm looking for. I mean, you seem nice and everything, but I'm really into fitness and taking care of myself. I need someone who shares those same values." Maya could barely believe what she was hearing. "I never lied about anything, Ryan. You've seen my photos. We've talked about so many things. I thought you cared about personality and having real conversations." Ryan finally looked directly at her, but his expression was not kind. "I do care about personality, but I also have to be attracted to the person I'm with. And honestly, I just don't think we're a good match physically. I mean, no offense, but you're a lot bigger than I expected." The words hit Maya like a punch to the stomach. She could feel tears starting to form in her eyes. But she was determined not to cry in front of this cruel man. Around them, other diners were now openly staring at their table. Maya could hear whispers and see people pointing discreetly in their direction. "I spent 2 hours getting ready for this date," Maya said, her voice shaking slightly. "I was excited to meet you. We had such good conversations, and you said you were looking for something real." Ryan pulled out his wallet and threw a $20 bill on the table. "Look, I'm sorry if I wasted your time, but I'm being honest about what I want. I work out 5 times a week, I eat healthy, and I want a girlfriend who does the same. I need someone who can keep up with my lifestyle." Maya stared at him in disbelief. "You don't even know anything about my lifestyle. You never asked about my hobbies or what I do for exercise. You just looked at me and decided I wasn't good enough." "I don't need to ask," Ryan said, standing up from his chair. "It's pretty obvious, and I don't want to waste either of our time pretending this could work when it clearly can't." The businessman at the next table had stopped reading his papers and was watching the conversation with a frown on his face. Maya noticed that the entire restaurant had gone quieter, and she could feel dozens of eyes on her. "This is so unfair," Maya said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You made me believe you were different. You said you wanted someone genuine and real." Ryan shrugged his shoulders. "I do want someone real. Just not—" He gestured vaguely in her direction. "I'm sorry, but I have to go. Thanks for understanding." "I don't understand," Maya said, finally feeling the first tear roll down her cheek. "How can you be so mean to someone you don't even know?" But Ryan was already walking away from the table. Maya watched as he headed straight for the door without looking back. The $20 he had left behind felt like an insult, as if he was paying for the privilege of humiliating her in public. Maya sat alone at the table, surrounded by the whispers and stares of strangers. Her hands were shaking, and she could feel more tears threatening to fall. The excitement and hope she had felt just minutes earlier had been completely destroyed. She felt foolish for believing that this time would be different, for thinking that someone could actually see past her appearance and appreciate who she really was. The waiter approached the table cautiously. "Miss, is everything okay? Would you like to order something?" Maya looked up at him with tears in her eyes. She could not speak without her voice breaking, so she just shook her head. All she wanted was to disappear, to get out of this restaurant and away from all these people who had witnessed her humiliation. She had never felt so small and worthless in her entire life. David Chen had seen a lot of things in his 42 years of life, but what he had just witnessed at the table next to him made his blood boil. He had been sitting quietly, reviewing contracts for his tech company's latest partnership deal, when he heard the entire conversation between the young woman and that awful man. Every word had been like a knife, and David could not believe how cruel someone could be to another human being. David was not just any businessman. He was the CEO of one of the fastest-growing technology companies in the state. His company created software solutions for small businesses, and he had built it from nothing over the past 12 years. David knew what it felt like to be judged and rejected. When he was starting his business, countless investors had refused to meet with him because he was too young, or because his ideas seemed too risky, or sometimes because of his Asian background. He had heard every excuse in the book, but this was different. This was not about business or money or risk. This was about basic human decency, and the man who had just walked out of this restaurant clearly had none. David watched as Maya sat alone at her table, trying to hold back tears while people around the restaurant continued to stare and whisper. His heart broke for her. She was clearly a beautiful person, both inside and out, and she definitely did not deserve to be treated like that. The way she had tried to keep the conversation going, the way she had remained polite even when that jerk was being horrible to her, showed what kind of person she really was. David had been raised by his grandmother after his parents died in a car accident when he was 10 years old. His grandmother had always taught him to stand up for people who were being mistreated and to never let cruelty go unanswered. She used to say that how you treat people when you have nothing to gain from being kind to them shows your true character. David had never forgotten that lesson. He closed his folder of contracts and made a decision. His business dinner had been canceled anyway when his potential partner called 20 minutes ago to reschedule. David had planned to just finish his meal and go home, but now he had a much better idea for how to spend his evening. David stood up from his table and walked over to where Maya was sitting. She was looking down at her hands, clearly trying to compose herself before leaving the restaurant. When David approached, she looked up with red eyes and an expression that broke his heart. "Excuse me," David said gently. making sure to keep his voice kind and respectful. "I'm really sorry to bother you, but I couldn't help overhearing what just happened. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but that man is the biggest fool I've ever seen in my life." Maya looked surprised that a stranger was talking to her. She wiped her eyes quickly and tried to smile. "Oh, thank you, but you really don't need to worry about me. I'll be fine." "I'm sure you will be," David said. "You seem like a very strong person. But nobody should have to eat alone after going through something like that. Especially not when they're dressed up for what was supposed to be a nice evening. My name is David, and I was actually supposed to have a business dinner tonight, but it got canceled. Would you maybe like to have dinner with me instead? I promise I'm not some weird guy trying to take advantage of a bad situation. I just think you deserve to have a much better evening than the one that jerk tried to give you." Maya stared at him for a moment, clearly trying to figure out if this was some kind of joke or trick. David could understand her hesitation. After what had just happened, she probably did not trust any man who approached her. "I don't know," Maya said quietly. "I should probably just go home. This whole night has been such a disaster." "I get it," David said. "But here's the thing. If you go home now, that guy wins. He gets to ruin your whole evening and you go to bed feeling terrible about yourself. But if you stay and have a nice dinner with someone who actually has manners, then you get to end the night on a positive note. Plus, I already ordered wine and I hate drinking alone." Maya looked around the restaurant and noticed that people were still watching her. "Everyone's staring at me," she whispered. "Let them stare," David said with a smile. "They're probably wondering how that idiot could be so stupid as to walk away from such an obviously amazing person. Trust me, you're not the one who should be embarrassed here." Something in David's tone must have convinced Maya, because she nodded slowly. "Okay," she said. "I guess I could stay for a little while. But I should warn you, I'm probably not going to be very good company tonight." "Don't worry about that," David said as he moved to the chair across from her. "I've had plenty of practice making conversation with people who are having bad days. It comes with being a boss. Sometimes my employees come to work after fighting with their spouse or getting a parking ticket, and I have to figure out how to cheer them up." David signaled to the waiter and asked him to move his wine and water over to Maya's table. The waiter seemed happy to help, probably relieved that the awkward situation from earlier was turning into something more pleasant. "So what do you do for work?" David asked as he settled into his chair. "I heard you mention something about a project when that guy was being rude." Maya's face lit up slightly when he asked about her job. "I'm a graphic designer. I work for a small advertising agency downtown. Right now I'm working on a rebranding project for a restaurant chain. It's actually really exciting because they're giving me complete creative control." "That sounds amazing," David said, and he genuinely meant it. "I'm always impressed by creative people. I can barely draw a stick figure, so anyone who can create beautiful designs seems like a magician to me." Maya smiled for the first time since David had sat down. "It's not magic, just lots of practice and probably too much coffee. What about you? What kind of business are you in?" "I run a technology company," David said. "We create software to help small businesses manage their operations. Things like inventory systems, employee scheduling, customer databases, that kind of thing. It's not as creative as what you do, but I love helping small business owners succeed." "That's really cool," Maya said. "Small businesses need all the help they can get. My dad owns a small restaurant and he's always struggling with keeping track of everything." David leaned forward with interest. "Really? What kind of restaurant?" As Maya started talking about her father's Mexican restaurant and the challenges he faced with managing orders and staff schedules, David found himself genuinely engaged in the conversation. Maya was clearly intelligent and passionate about the people she cared about. The way she talked about wanting to help her father's business succeed showed that she had a good heart and a sharp mind. David realized that meeting Maya might turn out to be the best thing that had happened to him in months. Not only was she lovely to talk to, but she might be exactly what his company needed for their upcoming projects. 2 hours had passed, and Maya could not believe how much her evening had changed. What had started as the worst date of her life had somehow turned into one of the most interesting conversations she had ever had. David was nothing like what she had expected when he first approached her table. He was kind, funny, and genuinely interested in everything she had to say. They had talked about her father's restaurant, David's journey building his company, their favorite movies, and even their biggest fears about the future. Maya found herself laughing for the first time in weeks. David had a way of telling stories that made even the most ordinary things sound exciting. He told her about the early days of his business when he was working 18-hour days in a tiny office above a pizza shop, surviving on energy drinks and determination. "I remember this one night," David was saying as he finished his pasta. "I had been coding for about 14 hours straight, trying to fix a bug in our software. I was so tired that I started talking to my computer screen like it was a person. I was saying things like, 'Come on, buddy, just work with me here.' The cleaning lady came in and found me having a full conversation with my monitor. She probably thought I had lost my mind." Maya laughed so hard she almost choked on her wine. "That's hilarious. I do the same thing when I'm working on a difficult design. I'll sit there asking my computer why it won't cooperate with me. The funny thing is," David continued, "that bug ended up teaching me something important about problem solving. Sometimes when you're too close to a problem, you can't see the solution. You need to step back, take a break, and come at it from a different angle." "That's so true," Maya agreed. "I had a client last month who wanted me to design a logo for their bakery. I must have created 50 different versions and none of them felt right. I was getting so frustrated that I decided to take a walk around the neighborhood. While I was walking, I saw this old woman feeding pigeons in the park, and suddenly I had the perfect idea. The logo ended up being inspired by that moment of watching her share something simple and beautiful with the world." David's eyes lit up with interest. "That sounds like an amazing logo. Do you have any pictures of your work? I'd love to see some of your designs." Maya hesitated for a moment. She was proud of her work, but she had never shared her portfolio with someone she had just met, especially not someone who seemed as successful as David. "I do have some photos on my phone, but they're probably not that interesting to someone who doesn't work in design." "Are you kidding?" David said. "I'm always fascinated by creative work. Plus, I'm actually in the middle of trying to rebrand my company. We've grown so much over the past few years that our old logo and website don't really represent who we are anymore. I've been struggling to find a designer who understands what we're trying to do." Maya pulled out her phone and scrolled through her photo gallery. "Well, if you really want to see them, I guess I can show you a few pieces." She found the bakery logo she had mentioned and handed David her phone. David studied the image carefully, his expression growing more impressed by the second. "Maya, this is incredible. The way you've combined the traditional elements with the modern style is perfect. This logo tells a story just by looking at it." Encouraged by his reaction, Maya showed him several more designs. There was a logo for a fitness studio that used strong, bold lines to represent strength and movement, a website design for a children's bookstore that felt magical and inviting, a complete branding package for a coffee shop that captured the warmth and community feeling the owner wanted to create. "These are not just good," David said, clearly amazed. "These are exceptional. The way you capture the personality of each business is remarkable. You don't just create pretty pictures, you create identities." Maya felt herself blushing. She was not used to receiving such enthusiastic praise for her work. Most people looked at her designs and said they were nice or cute, but David was seeing something deeper. "Thank you," Maya said. "That really means a lot to me. I try to spend time with each client to understand what makes their business special. I want every design to feel authentic to who they are." David leaned back in his chair, looking thoughtful. "Maya, can I ask you something? Are you happy at your current job?" The question surprised Maya. "I mean, I like the work and my boss is pretty good to me. But honestly, I sometimes feel like I'm not being challenged enough. Most of our clients want very safe, traditional designs. They don't want to take risks or try anything innovative." "What would your dream job look like?" David asked. Maya thought for a moment. "I would love to work with a company that values creativity and isn't afraid to be different. I want to create designs that actually make a difference, not just fulfill a requirement. And I'd love to be part of a team where my ideas are heard and respected." David smiled. "That's funny because I've been looking for a creative director for my company for the past 6 months. We've interviewed dozens of candidates, but none of them understood our vision. They all wanted to play it safe and create generic designs that looked like every other tech company. What we need is someone who can help us stand out, someone who can tell our story in a way that connects with people." Maya's heart started beating faster. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm suggesting we have a serious conversation about it," David said. "Based on what I've seen of your work and the way you think about design, you might be exactly what we're looking for. Of course, you'd need to see our offices, meet the team, and we'd have to work out all the details. But I think this could be a perfect match." Maya stared at him in disbelief. "This is crazy. 3 hours ago, I was being humiliated by a man who said I wasn't good enough for him. And now you're talking about offering me my dream job. Life has a funny way of working out sometimes, David said. But I want to be clear about something. This isn't charity or me feeling sorry for you because of what happened earlier. I'm a businessman, and I don't make hiring decisions based on emotions. I'm interested in you because you're talented, you understand branding, and you have the creative vision we need. Maya felt tears forming in her eyes again. But this time they were tears of joy and hope instead of humiliation and disappointment. I can't believe this is happening. Believe it, David said with a warm smile. Sometimes the worst moments in our lives lead us to the best opportunities. That jerk who walked out on you tonight probably has no idea that he just did you the biggest favor of your life. Maya laughed through her tears. You know what's really ironic? Ryan works in marketing. He spends all day trying to sell things to people, but he has no idea how to see the value in what's right in front of him. His loss is definitely my gain, David said, and hopefully yours too. 3 months had passed since that terrible night at the restaurant, and Maya could barely recognize her own life. She was standing in the mirror of the executive bathroom at her new office, adjusting the blazer of her professional outfit. But this time, she was not getting ready for a disappointing date. She was preparing for the biggest presentation of her career. Maya was now the creative director at David's technology company, Chen Innovations, and tonight was the launch party for their complete company rebrand. Everything from the logo to the website to the marketing materials had been designed by Maya and her team. The past 3 months had been the most challenging and rewarding period of her professional life. When David had first offered her the position, Maya had been nervous about leaving her safe job at the advertising agency. But from her very first day at Chen Innovations, she knew she had made the right decision. David had given her complete creative freedom and a budget that was triple what she was used to working with. More importantly, he had trusted her vision and supported every innovative idea she presented. Maya had thrown herself into understanding David's company and what made it special. She spent weeks interviewing employees, talking to clients, and researching the competition. What she discovered was that Chen Innovations was not just another tech company. They genuinely cared about helping small businesses succeed, and they treated their clients like family rather than just account numbers. The rebrand Maya created reflected that warmth and personal connection. Instead of the cold corporate blue that most tech companies used, Maya chose a palette of warm oranges and deep teals that felt approachable and friendly. The new logo combined traditional symbols of growth with modern geometric shapes, representing how the company helped businesses build bridges between where they were and where they wanted to be. The results had been incredible. Since launching the new brand 2 months ago, Chen Innovations had seen a 40% increase in new client inquiries. Their website traffic had doubled, and they had been featured in 3 major business magazines as a company to watch. David had been thrilled with the response, and Maya felt proud every time she saw her designs out in the world. But the professional success was not the only good thing that had happened to Maya over these past 3 months. Somewhere between late-night brainstorming sessions and celebratory dinners after successful client presentations, Maya and David had fallen in love. It had happened gradually and naturally. David would bring Maya coffee during long design sessions. Maya would stay after work to help David prepare for important meetings. They started having lunch together every day, then dinner a few times a week. Before either of them realized what was happening, they had become inseparable. David was different from anyone Maya had ever dated. He saw her intelligence before her appearance. He valued her opinions and asked for her input on important business decisions. He made her laugh every single day, and he never made her feel like she had to change anything about herself to be worthy of his attention. Maya had been worried at first about dating her boss, but David had handled the situation perfectly. He made sure Maya never felt pressured, and he was completely transparent with the other employees about their relationship. The team had been supportive and happy for both of them. Tonight's launch party was being held at the Grand Ballroom downtown. Over 200 people were expected to attend, including clients, employees, local business leaders, and representatives from other companies in the industry. Maya had planned every detail of the event, from the decorations to the catering to the presentation materials. Maya walked out of the bathroom and down the hall to David's office. He was standing by the window adjusting his tie and looking nervous. "You clean up pretty well, Mr. CEO," Maya said with a smile. David turned around and his face lit up when he saw her. "Maya, you look absolutely stunning. That dress is perfect on you." Maya was wearing a deep teal dress that matched the company's new brand colors. She had chosen it specifically because it made her feel confident and powerful. Over the past 3 months, Maya had learned to dress for herself, rather than trying to hide or apologize for her body. "Are you ready for this?" David asked, taking her hands in his. "I think so," Maya said. "I just hope everyone loves the new brand as much as we do." "They're going to love it," David assured her. "But more importantly, I'm excited for everyone to meet the brilliant woman who created it all." They arrived at the ballroom an hour before the guests were scheduled to arrive. Maya walked around checking all the details one final time. The decorations looked perfect, with large displays showcasing the company's new branding materials. The catering staff was setting up a beautiful spread of food and drinks. Everything was exactly as Maya had envisioned it. As guests began arriving, Maya mingled with the crowd, accepting compliments on the new brand and answering questions about the design process. She felt more confident and comfortable than she had ever felt at a professional event. These people respected her work and valued her expertise. David took the stage around 8 o'clock to give his presentation about the company's growth and future plans. Maya stood near the front of the crowd, watching proudly as he spoke about their success. "Before I talk about where we're going," David said into the microphone, "I want to talk about how we got here. 3 months ago, we made the decision to completely rebrand our company. We knew we needed someone special to lead this project, someone who could understand our values and translate them into a visual identity that would connect with our clients." Maya felt her cheeks warming as David continued his speech. "We found that person in Maya Rodriguez, our new creative director. Maya didn't just give us a new logo and website. She gave us a new way of seeing ourselves and showing the world who we really are. The response has been beyond our wildest expectations, and it's all thanks to Maya's vision and talent." The crowd applauded, and Maya felt overwhelmed with gratitude and pride. But then something happened that made her heart skip a beat. Near the back of the room, she spotted a familiar face. It was Ryan, the man who had humiliated her 3 months ago at the restaurant. Ryan was wearing a suit and a visitor badge that identified him as a representative from Maxwell Marketing, one of Chen Innovation's biggest competitors. He was staring at Maya with his mouth slightly open, clearly shocked to see her on stage being praised by the CEO of a successful company. Maya felt a moment of anxiety, but then she remembered how much she had changed over the past 3 months. She was not the same insecure woman who had been devastated by Ryan's rejection. She was successful, respected, and loved for exactly who she was. As David finished his speech and the crowd applauded again, Maya watched Ryan push through the crowd toward the stage. She took a deep breath and prepared herself for whatever he might say. "Maya," Ryan said when he reached her, "I can't believe it's really you. You look different." "Hi, Ryan," Maya said calmly. "I look successful." "There's a difference." Ryan glanced around the room, taking in the elegant decorations and the well-dressed crowd. "This is all your work?" "The rebrand for this company. It is," Maya said simply. "I had no idea you were so talented," Ryan said, and Maya could hear genuine regret in his voice. "Maybe I made a mistake that night at the restaurant." Maya smiled, but it was not a bitter smile. It was the smile of someone who had found her worth and was no longer seeking validation from people who had rejected her. "You didn't make a mistake, Ryan," Maya said. "You showed me exactly who you are, and because of that, I ended up exactly where I was meant to be." David appeared at Maya's side, wrapping his arm gently around her waist. "Everything okay over here?" "Everything's perfect," Maya said, looking up at the man who had seen her value from the very first moment they met.